have been killed on provincial roads since the start of December. Transport authorities say it's the usual. We can have this conversation every year. Reckless and drunk driving, the main contributors. So the National Liquor Traders Council urging those who are travelling long distance to try and do so more responsibly. Well, the council's convener, Lucky Ntamane, has come through to join us this evening. Hello to you, Lucky. Merry Christmas, belated. How long do we say Merry Christmas for? I'm not really sure, but I hope you had a good one. I feel like you and I have this conversation every year. There's calls to be more responsible, but in the end, South African drivers, we're irresponsible. We drink, we drive. Are we not at a point yet where we have to ban alcohol during December? Because we don't listen. We just don't do it.
Thank you for the opportunity. Look, it is a reality that every December or every festive season, we have to talk about the unfortunate incidents that take place on our roads and those that could easily be linked to alcohol abuse or irresponsible usage of alcohol. As much as, we all want a safer South Africa, we want safer roads, I think banning alcohol is never a solution. Banning anything is never a solution, especially if it's a legal product. It is an issue that we need to address, that, there are those that continue to drink alcohol in an irresponsible way that causes this accident. But we should also understand that the very same people that are causing these accidents, that are getting behind the steering wheel, having consumed alcohol, live with us from January to December. But why do it in December? Why not do it in July or August? So there seems to be a behavioral pattern, that seems to take over during the festive season. And we need to nip that in the bud. So it means that our programs need to be behavioral change based so that we're able to address, the underlying factors that causes people that in December they should get excited and get behind the wheel.
So how do we start doing that, though? Because I feel like you and I'm going to be much older, you're going to be much older, there's going to be more grey on your beard in years to come. We're still going to sit here and talk about it so we can discuss about changing the programs that are in place. But what does that look like? Because right now we have a near zero alcohol driving limit. We have more roadblocks, I think, than we've ever seen. Yes, I know there's issues with alcohol testing kits at the moment. All of that's in place. So where else do we go? When we say we need to relook at the programs, what does that mean?
So what we've done as the National Liquor Traders was to partner with like-minded organizations that wanted the same thing as us. So we partnered with Santaco, because Santaco has got a captured audience of 16 million people that they transport at peak on a daily basis. But also we partnered with the alcohol industry. So there are certain companies that are funding the initiative that we have launched with Santaco that looks at long-distance taxis specifically, where we are using Santaco's road safety initiative called Tlhokomela. We have appointed 100 Tlhokomela road safety ambassadors in the country. So these ambassadors, what they do is they sit in taxi ranks and ensure that they do checklists on all the taxis that are leaving the taxi rank to be on their journey to whatever destination. And the taxi that fails that checklist is not allowed to leave the taxi rank. But also, if you look at South African breweries, they have the alcohol evidence centers, which ensures that there is testing on those that are suspected to have consumed alcohol. But also, Heineken is sponsoring Sfika Sonke, meaning we arrive, all of us, safely. So these are the campaigns that alcohol industry, is having on the ground. But also, I need to emphasize that, we've always said that as National Liquor Traders and certainly as the alcohol industry, we see ourselves as citizens of the country before we are business people. Hence, it's important for us that, we lend a helping hand, we contribute positively to society, and in this instance, road safety is important, and that's why we're part of it.
What happens to those taxi drivers, because you brought it up, what happens to those taxi drivers who are found, thankfully, before they get into a taxi filled with passengers that are over the limit? You say the taxi doesn't leave the taxi rank. That's great. Obviously it is. What happens to the drivers? Do they get their driver's licenses revoked? Do they get their taxi driver permit? I know there's a permit involved, like Santaco. What happens to the drivers in a case like that?
So what we have picked up, and this is something that we commend Santaco for, is that the heavy fines that are meted out to those taxi drivers that are found to be driving taxis that are not fit for the road. But also, the taxi owner also gets to be fined. And this is not something that the taxi owner wants, because they know that a lost trip is lost income for them. So this is not something that they want to do. So hence, we are pushing taxi owners, to ensure that the taxis that come to the taxi rank are in good health and in good condition to be able to travel a long distance. And I can assure you that Santaco is not leaving any stone unturned in ensuring that the taxis that are doing long distance are actually of the right are in the right space to be able to take that long trip.
You'll, I'm sure, be aware of the criticism that as you and I sit here as the National Liquor Traders Council, it's in your interest to not have alcohol banned during December. It's a business. There's money to be made. What do you say to those who will suggest that you would never want to have alcohol banned during December because you're going to lose money. The people you represent are going to lose money. What do you make of that sort of critique?
I think the intent is plausible, that we should not have fatalities on the road linked to alcohol in December. We agree with that. But to move into a space where you're saying that alcohol must ban, I think it's short-sighted. Do we say then that, because VW cars, for example, might be involved in car accidents in December period, that we must ban
because there's more VWs on the road?
Yeah, so,
okay.
So it's short-sighted. But we welcome, I think the urge to have the conversation around road safety, and we welcome any suggestions from civil society in terms of what can we do working together to ensure that we address the issue of road safety. But also need to understand that as a country, we have a bad relationship with alcohol. Hence, the few that abuse alcohol are actually the ones that are causing all the mayhem that we see on the road.
What about limiting the amount of alcohol being bought in December? Because we know what happens. Everyone gets not everyone, forgive me. Some people are lucky enough to get a 13th check or a bonus or whatever. So what do? You run off to the nearest wholesaler and you buy as much alcohol as you can physically carry. I've seen people coming out of wholesalers carrying crates of beer. What about limiting the amount of alcohol an individual can buy during December? Could that be a suggestion?
Look, people are just going to send their cousins who do not consume alcohol to buy for them.
We're always going to find a way.
So there will always be a way.
Yeah.
You saw during lockdown that people found a way to access alcohol. And that has created a monster for us, because if you look at the illicit alcohol that we have in the country, it's worth 20 billion rand on an annual basis. And now that market is clearly entrenched. And the criminals are now taking advantage of that, and they're feeding into that route to market that they've created. So I think banning actually allows the criminals to take advantage of illegal market.
So you would, as I say goodbye to you, Lucky, you would perhaps then agree or suggest as well that it needs to be tougher penalties in court. So 0 alcohol limit, which we know in some areas there are. Forget a fine, lock these people up. Or am I now going too far?
No, you're not going too far. I think anyone who takes a decision to get behind the wheel whilst having consumed alcohol is clearly intent on causing harm to those that are on the road. So we're saying that enforcement needs to be strengthened, and if those people need to lose their licenses, so be it. We'll support that call.
Oh, I certainly hope that we're 1 year, you and I will sit here and discuss a reduction in road accidents. How wonderful a year would that be? That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Lucky, thank you for coming in and joining us this evening. Lucky Ntamane, convener of the National Liquor Traders Council, as you can hear, trying to do everything they can from their side to promote safer driving in our country. But in the end, we are a responsible, or rather irresponsible nation when it comes to drinking. It's true, we just are.